You are listening to episode 12 of the Aligned Actor podcast, otherwise known as the episode where Amy learns that she doesn't know how to breathe while recording podcasts. I hope it's not distracting, but this episode is all about fear and what to do with fear, and I talk through a lot of fears I've been having recently, and I feel like maybe that got to me, and I let it get to me, and it caused me to feel fear as I was recording. So I felt kind of cut off from my breath, and I was really aware of breathing and not breathing as I recorded this. Again, so I hope it's not distracting. And I just listened back to it, and I didn't notice it too much, but yeah, in the moment I found myself thinking, why am I running out of breath? Is this fear? Because I'm talking about fear? Very meta. Anyway, let's go to the show. Please enjoy. Welcome to the Aligned Actor podcast. I'm Amy Schlurb, and I am an actor and a student of conscious creation, looking to learn, grow, and share my experiences with you so that together we can master our mindsets and manifest the careers of our dreams. Let's play. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Whee! So today I want to talk about inspired action that we all get. Hopefully we're all getting inspired action. But what happens when that comes with this nice side of fear? Because that's what's happening to me right now. Sometimes I feel like I can get lined up with my desire and I'm listening and I'm on the lookout for my inspired action. You know, what feels good to do next on this thing that I want. And I'll have an idea and then an immediate follow-up thought of, but that's really scary. So it's kind of like, I want to do this, but I'm scared. So what do I do? For me recently, this has been happening with regard to doing casting director workshops again. I used to do them all the time, and then my son was born, and so I kind of took a break, and now he's 3. So it's been a while since I've been out in the evenings to go to a casting director workshop. And in the interim, there was that big kerfuffle and crackdown thing by the city of Los Angeles where they basically called all workshops scams, which they aren't. But, you know, even though I never thought they were scams, I never saw them that way, and I know that they aren't, and I was never taken advantage of in any way, shape, or form, there was something about having someone in a perceived position of power, or an actual position of power. I mean, the LA city attorney that's a position of power, right? So having someone like that say, you were scammed, you need to be protected, it made me feel really icky and not so great, you know? It was kind of like my conscious brain knew that this was ridiculous, but my subconscious was like, oh, well, maybe I was just a stupid actor who was deluding themselves into thinking that, you know, this was a valuable type of education, marketing, networking, things like that. Like maybe I'm just deluding myself. Maybe I'm just crazy. So now I've been feeling this inspired action of I want to do workshops again. But because it's been a while and because of the crackdown, I have some limiting beliefs and fears that have built up that now I'm having to work through these, and I'm working on dismantling them so that I can truly make the most of my upcoming workshops, of which I have one tonight, which I will probably report back on in the Facebook group if you want to go in there. That's facebook.com/groups/the Aligned Actor Community. Little plug there. Okay. Because ultimately, limiting beliefs and fears, they're always going to find a way to creep in at various points along our journey. And I know that I just have to get skilled at managing them and not letting them manage me. So here's what I've been doing to dismantle my fears and my limiting beliefs around workshops so that I will actually go and do them again. And I think that this kind of, even though I'm using my personal example of this workshop thing, I think this can work for any fears, anytime you encounter fear or any kind of limiting belief around any part of your career. Okay, so let's look at fear first. First of all, I had to recognize that this fear, this kind of, you know, heightened anxiety that I'm feeling around doing workshops again, it's not a sign that I'm not aligned with doing workshops or that I don't feel inspired to do workshops. I definitely feel inspired to do workshops. It keeps coming up and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. Oh, I feel scared. So in conscious creation, we talk about inspired action being doing things that feel good, that make us happy, actions and ideas that come to us when we get lined up with our desires. And I'd been feeling pretty aligned with my career goals, and the idea of getting back into workshops again, like I said, kept popping into my brain. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that, but I'm terrified. And I don't really think that fear is ever a sign of misalignment. That can't be my inspired action because I'm feeling fear. Guess I'll move on. I mean, if anything, I think it's actually usually a sign of the opposite. At least it is for me. Fear to me feels like my ego desperately trying to cling to the familiarity and the safety of my comfort zone. And I know that big growth and those big opportunities and what I really want is outside of my comfort zone, right? We hear that all the time. Okay, so great. So even just recognizing that the fear is just my ego trying to keep me small, that's a pretty big win because I know I'm stronger than my ego and I can work through this. But that fear is still there. What do I do with it? Because it feels very real, and it is very real. It's happening. I can feel it in my body, and I need to do something with it. I gotta find a way to get through it, manage it. So here are the things that I do with fear. Number 1, sometimes I bulldoze right through it. Sometimes that's empowering. It's kind of like ripping off the Band-Aid and rawr, and you just sort of motor through, right? That's one approach. Another thing I do sometimes, number 2, I don't do the thing. Sometimes the fear wins. Sometimes I'm just not ready to do it yet. Sometimes I'm just not strong enough yet. And that's okay too. So like when, an example I'm thinking of is when I emailed an unsolicited self-tape to a casting office instead of calling them up to find out the best way to get it to them. I didn't want to face having to hear some kind of negative reaction on a phone call. I would have preferred, that it just get sent through email and then maybe it'll get opened and maybe it won't. And I won't ever have to hear any negativity, basically, because the chances of them writing something back were very slim, or at least writing something negative back. Because if it's negative, they're probably just not going to say anything. So yeah, so sometimes fear wins, and that's okay too. Number 3, recognizing the fear as old programming. I have struggled with anxiety in the past. I still get it as I record this podcast. I don't know if you can hear it, but I sometimes don't breathe in the middle of the podcast. I don't know if I'm very conscious of my breath and I'm trying to not breathe because I can hear it really loudly in my headphones, but sometimes I'll just run out of breath and I'm like, why? Just breathe. Everything's fine. So anxiety can come up. And when I just recognize that as old programming, I can really ask myself, well, do I really feel scared? Here, let's do a little check-in right now. Do I actually feel scared as I sit here recording this podcast? No. I feel a little heightened energy in my body. But if I really think about what that is, it's not fear. It's, I don't quite know what it is. It might be a little bit of anxiety, but that might just be the word that I'm used to kind of putting on that feeling. So it might not actually be anxiety. It might just be a little bit of heightened excitement and energy and desire to communicate my ideas to you effectively. So yeah, it can be really powerful to ask, am I really feeling fear? Or am I just feeling a pattern in my body, a pattern of feeling that my body is used to, kind of like a rut? So sometimes labeling it as, it's old programming. This is just a familiar feeling in my body, but it doesn't have to be this way. Sometimes that is a good way for me, helps me dismantle the fear. Number 4, oftentimes I will gently guide the fear. This is the opposite of the bulldozer approach. So instead of just sort of pounding the fear into submission and just doing the thing anyway, I'll, treat it very, very kindly, like a little child, kind of like I'm talking to it and saying, it's okay. Come on. We're doing this anyway. See? Not so scary. So it's kind of like the fear is a little kid and I'm the mom making it okay. Number 5, use it. Sometimes I use the fear, especially in auditions and circumstances like that. It's free energy. So, and also fear and excitement feel the same. It's not always easy to remember this, especially for me in the moment. But I've heard people say that anxiety is excitement without breath. So lately I've been able to recognize the anxiety and then breathe. And then all of a sudden it becomes excitement. And you're like, oh, I'm breathing and I'm feeling excited. I'm not feeling anxious. I'm not cut off from my body. I'm not cut off from what's going on, and therefore feeling sort of stuck in that anxiety. I'm feeling the excitement. That actually helped as I was sitting here recording this and I started to breathe again more. I got excited again, more excited than I was before. Okay, number 6, keeping an evidence log. So writing down all the ways that my fears are nonsense. So stuff like, of course I can handle the material they give me. I have a strong skill set. Or if I'm worried that no one will like me, well, first off, do I really care if a group of strangers likes me or not? I don't know any of these people. So I don't need them to like me. I don't need any of these people to like me. I just need them to see my work. That's all. Fear that I'll do a bad job. Again, writing down that I know that I have a strong skill set and evidence of when I've been able to recognize that. Parking is often sometimes something that I can get worried and anxious about. And so the way I combat that is just like, well, I always find a parking space. I've never actually driven home. I've never actually driven to an event and then not found parking and just been like, you know what, I'm going home. I've thought that, but then I've always found a spot eventually. And also I always leave a lot of time to go find parking. So that's not a big, I can let that one go. So yeah, so those are ways that I combat and handle fear. And then looking at limiting beliefs, so specifically for workshops, it's this idea that oh, this doesn't work, I'm being scammed, sort of those kinds of thoughts. But I feel like, again, this can work more generally for all kinds of limiting beliefs. So the first thing I've been doing is, again, keeping an evidence log. So this helps with limiting beliefs and doubts about the effectiveness of workshops, in that I am able to, see and make a list of all of the ways that I have benefited from workshopping in the past. And so that was really helpful to me, to just make a list of all the ways that they were helpful to me before. And then I know that oh, they will be helpful again. They do work. They are not scams. Number 2 was I reframed my goals of workshopping so that I'm not just going to be waiting for the quote unquote result of generating some kind of opportunity. So these are my new workshopping goals. Number 1, practice putting myself out there in front of new people, because that's scary. I mean, I'm doing a whole episode about how scary this is and what I'm doing with that fear. So now I'm just going to get practice of putting myself out there. And it's going to get easier and easier and easier with every new situation where I have to present my work. Number 2, practice dealing with negative, quote unquote, actor energy. You know what I'm talking about. It's that special little charge that a room full of actors getting ready to put their work in front of an industry professional can have. That please like me energy that feels desperate and needy or just nervous, whatever. I'm going to have to deal with it in audition waiting rooms. I know in the past it's happened in casting director workshop scenarios. I might as well practice my defense now when there's no job on the line and the stakes are pretty low. So just kind of practice being around that energy and not letting it affect me, not letting myself get sharked, not letting that get in, and just knowing that no, I'm here to do my thing. And if the only way that my energy gets affected is that I would be putting out good energy. So hopefully then that helps other people as opposed to their energy stifling me in some way. Number 3, one of my goals is getting feedback from casting directors on how they see me. So I can find out, oh, my headshot is getting me cast in this way. Or, oh, this is a good character type for me. Or this is how I come across in a room. You can kind of pick that up from casting directors, and you can just ask them, how do you see me when I walk into a room? What are a couple of adjectives about how I present myself? So we can find all that out. Number 4, learning the ins and outs of the offices that I would like to build relationships with. So what's the best way to follow up and stay top of mind? Who likes self-tapes? Who hates postcards? Who has a Facebook page that I can like and follow you there and keep up on you there? Number 5, be of service. So is there a way when I go in tonight that I can help another actor? Can I recommend something? Can I, again, going back to number 2, can I infect them with my positive energy as opposed to taking on their negative energy? If they have negative energy, I should not be assuming that everybody that I go in with is going to have negative energy. Maybe we'll find more all kinds of positive people over there, so that'll be fun. Number 6, practice pleasing myself. Did I do what I wanted to do in the scene? And then move on. Give myself the validation that I used to seek from others, that I still seek from others, that I'm trying really hard to switch that around and just give it to myself so that I don't seek it from other people, so that I can just say I am a good actor and not have to hear somebody else tell me, you're a good actor. So yeah, I'm going to practice pleasing myself in my work. So basically what I'm doing with all of these 6 goals is I'm recognizing and mining the value of the experience solely as the experience itself. What happens in those 2.5 hours of class, the workshop. Rather than only recognizing value if and when down the line meeting this person leads to some kind of opportunity. And I think my experience is going to be way better overall when I can just enjoy it now and close the loop now and say, that was awesome now, instead of waiting months or years before saying, oh yes, okay, that one was worth it. That one paid off. So that's what I've been doing to work through my fears and my limiting beliefs. And maybe in a few months, as I do more workshops, I'll report back on my progress and let you know how things are going. I think I'm definitely going to post an update, though, either later tonight or after the workshop or tomorrow, to kind of let you know, well, this is how it went. And this is where I was successful in my goals. And these are the areas I'm still working on or whatever. So yeah, so please come on over to the Facebook group. Once again, you can find that at facebook.com/groups/the Aligned Actor Community. We would love to hear from you. We would love to play with you in there. Come on in, tell us your fears, tell us your limiting beliefs on anything. And we can all help each other work through them. So yeah, have a great day, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you feel inspired to do so, please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast with your actor pals so that more people can enjoy the good vibes. Also, be sure to join the Aligned Actor Community on Facebook by going to facebook.com/groups/the Aligned Actor Community. That's the place where this podcast gets interactive. It's a pretty fun party. You're going to want to get in on it. Until next time, remember, you are an amazing actor and you are creating the career of your dreams. Congrats!